Guess we better turn our mics on, huh? Good evening. Welcome to November 14th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. First item on the agenda is Ben Nichols, 33 North Stark Highway. Applicant would like to make an existing building create, separate garage space. Sir, yes.
How's it going?
Tired, but that's okay.
So we have,
Is that working?
so we just acquired the property at 33 North Stark Highway. We're looking to convert a 55 by 100 foot storage space into 7 individual storage spaces. So we put together a plan with the breakups and all the available parking, everything to be available. So I don't know if you guys want to take a look at that.
Sure.
55 by 110, or 500. And this is the parking lot that abuts it right here.
So this is the building you're talking about?
That's the building, yep. And this is what we're looking to do to it.
That's the building.
Yep.
That's what he wants to do.
Still gonna be unheated?
Yes, and for now it will be unless it's a problem to put heat in it, then we'll leave it unheated, but it'd be nice to eventually put some insulation and some heat in there.
You're just talking about renting out units for self-storage? Is that what you're thinking of, or?
Small businesses, electrical company,
Oh,
just for
okay.
storage space.
Okay.
We own an HVAC company, so we'll be using one bay for storage. We've had some electricians that are interested in renting a small space. Also other people that are currently on the property that have reached out to us asking for additional storage.
Okay, so, but it's all storage, there's no offices or anything like
No
that?
offices. No bathrooms.
Yeah, the building wasn't intended to be heated when it was built. It was just, I mean, there's no insulation under the slab or anything.
Nope.
It's just a metal building.
Well, it's stick built, but
Pardon me?
I thought you said it was a metal building. It is stick built.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Yeah, trusses.
It's got trusses, yeah.
Shows what I know, haven't been in it. Been close to it. So really, it's the same use, you're just dividing it up into 7 units.
Right. Right now you walk in, it's a massive unorganized space, you know.
So there's nobody working there, really, it's just storage, right? Come and pick things up, drop stuff off and leave.
Pretty much, yeah. So we can store stuff, plumbers, they can store pipe in there, everything they need, you know.
So technically, you'll have no employees, you'll just have people coming in and out probably at the first part of the day and the end of the day.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be a whole lot of traffic, I wouldn't think.
Any new lighting?
Employee, there is lighting in there, yeah. There is power run out there and water.
Outside lighting, though? Are you gonna add any outside lighting?
I'd like to add some outside lights that, you know, so you can see where everyone's parked and stuff like that. It'd be nice to have some out there. Right now, I believe there's one, but it's not very bright.
You gonna rent parking spaces too, or just the storage space?
Right now, the shop that's there, he uses one section for boats while he's wrapping them, but the other 2 sides of the parking lot will be open. They used to do storage there in the winter for boats and stuff like that, but by doing this, we're eliminating that.
No, it's not an aquifer zone.
What is that, a cement floor? What is it?
Yeah.
Jeez, it's been a while for Naomi. Give me a break.
Yeah, when it was built, he ran forklift around in there, moving snowmobiles and
Yeah, I remember.
four-wheelers and stuff around in there.
So what does our site plan reg say about that? Do we need a site plan?
I did a pretty good site plan initially. I know, I did it. When the building was built.
Yeah. What's your point?
It's a change of ownership, but really not a change of use.
That's right. In some respects, it makes it more usable.
Yeah, it was designed to approve the storage to begin with, and it's still storage.
Right.
I don't see why I need a site plan, but I would be concerned about the lighting. That'd be my only concern. Really. Look at the regs, I don't believe he needs a site plan.
If you, limit the lighting to dark sky fixtures where they don't shine up or out, they just
Yeah.
point right down,
Yeah, we can do that.
that's the term.
We
you
put
use,
them
isn't
right
it?
over, I could
Dark
do it right over each bay as well, so that they just point down over the bay. So that they're not,
Could you make a motion detected too?
yeah. I would say
Yeah, so they're not on
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah. You can also put them on timers too.
Yeah. I don't see a problem. I don't think he needs a site plan. But I really appreciate you coming in. Anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns, disagreements?
So the present storage that's in the parking lot, you're not gonna be doing that? Or are you gonna continue?
Right here, if you'd like.
No, I mean, because this is all colored out in the
Yeah,
picture,
yeah,
so,
'cause- so right now, they used to have boats over
Yeah.
here and the trailers everywhere,
Yep.
so I talked to Derek, who rents
Mhm.
this space, and limited his parking to just this side.
just behind the berm.
So this is all open.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sounds good to me. Good luck.
You guys want those, or?
Oh, you can have it.
There's me one set.
Oh, you can give them the, yeah.
Thank you.
I just need one set for
They're all different.
Next item on the agenda is, I'm not gonna pronounce Chad's last name, so we'll just call it Chad. And Douglas Ilsley's the owner at 856 South Stark Highway. More stuff. Oh. Good evening, how are you? I've been worse, put it that way.
Good evening, my name is Chad Zingalis. I'm here with my wife Hillary and Gary Dempsey, who is our real estate agent. I'm a lifelong resident of, Hollis, New Hampshire. I've been here my whole life, and recently we've been looking for a piece of land that we could use to grow some of our business visions. And right now we have an offer on Mr. Ilsley's property, and I have a 60-day due diligence period just to go through the motions and see what's allowed, if it can be used for what we're hoping for it to be used. And I promise you, it's not a 60-house development, even if that was allowed, so I'm not a believer in that in New England. But, so my wife and I, Hillary, we own and operate a pretty successful Halloween attraction in Milford, New Hampshire at Trombley Gardens. We've been doing that for 5 years. We're now doing a Christmas event as well, But the preliminary, opportunity that we're looking for is to, fix up the property in phases. I assume most of you are familiar with that piece of property, so, yeah, so it's a big piece of property, there's a lot to it, and, being sensitive to the family, that it's been in the family for generations, we, obviously care about that too, so we, our plan would be just to do it in phases, and with the hope that we start by just, establishing a small ice cream stand on that property. The front part of that property, as you're probably aware, is, zoned commercial, from what I understand. So the hope is to just do an ice cream stand to start and, like I said, start to clean it up.
Do you have any schedule in mind for cleanup?
Not really.
Not really.
Obviously, the most, the most dangerous parts we would probably be addressing first. I have a couple demolition companies coming in just to give us some estimates. The main house and the barn is probably the biggest concern. And then there's lots of cleanup in the back. There's some area where there used to be probably what appears to be a pretty large barn, that a lot of it is on the ground, but there's areas that you can't quite see. Chicken farm, yeah. There's a lot of history in those buildings. It's quite something to look at.
So you want to put the ice cream stand in prior to doing any cleanup?
We would start the cleanup so that our potential patrons would be safe coming onto the property. That 6 acres right there, it's about, from what I can guesstimate on Google Earth, it's about 800 linear feet of road frontage. So there's a lot of areas that we could do it, but the thought is in that 800 feet, right about in the center of that, there's a couple giant maple trees. And there's an old, what appears to maybe be like a beehive type of shed area, and that would be kind of the area right in the center. Seems to be the safest spot.
Do you anticipate any sort of housing development in the future?
Absolutely zero.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
said not 60, but I don't know if that meant like 5. Great.
The only thing that we have contemplated in our endeavors is maybe a tiny home back there, way down the road. And, you know, if my kids drive me crazy enough, we'll put a second one so that they can just live there and leave us alone.
Leave them in Hollis.
Leave the kids in Hollis?
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna put that into consideration, Greg. We'll run
Just
it by
trying to
them.
help, just trying to help, you know.
You just make them work at the ice cream stand.
That's also true, yeah. Yep.
And you can live in Hollis, eh?
Yeah, we have 6 kids, which is,
You got plenty of ice cream stand
Oh,
help,
hey.
perfect.
they're watching right now, so I really can't,
Oh, go
Hey,
ahead.
kids,
Go ahead.
Dad's famous.
You gonna make the ice cream, is it hot serve?
We're not
soft
sure
serve?
yet. We've been doing a lot of research, where we are right now at the farm stand Trombley's, they outsource their ice cream. We're interested in actually talking to Douglas and his daughter, because my understanding is she has a great reputation and she's making some awesome product, so that could also be an option, so.
You have to drive by an ice cream stand to get your free ice cream.
That was a lot closer. Yeah, I guess. You got any site plan?
Yeah.
You gonna, for the ice cream stand, I don't know if it's, I mean, you could do it in phases if you want. You could do the site plan for the ice cream stand, but,
Well, he can do the site plan for the ice cream stand and say, this is to be demolished, this is to be demolished, this is to be demolished, this is to be
Yeah,
demolished. And you get your approvals, you start working on it, you're vested for,
yeah, you might
long
wanna,
time.
you might wanna do it as like a mini master plan? If you know that far, if you have any inkling of what you're gonna do in the future, I mean, because you don't, it sounds like you got a lot of ideas and kind of depends how things work out, but you wanna think about that thoroughly so you don't put the ice cream stand in the wrong place.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
You know, you don't wanna park it someplace where it's gonna eliminate
Everything else.
everything else.
Anything else.
Yeah.
Whatever. I was thinking about phasing the demolition. You can just, on the site plan, tell us you're gonna demolish them all, and you're gonna do whatever period of time, and
Yeah.
you're good to go as far as we're concerned.
Okay.
Planning boards wise.
We,
We're not like Hollis, where we're gonna make a, I'm a land surveyor, we've done work in Hollis. This is not Hollis, trust me.
again, I will not speak, but I, thank you. We still don't really know exactly what, I mean, there's some obvious buildings that obviously need to be either demoed or taken down, but there are two buildings, one of which was, the gentleman was living in, I believe it was Doug's father, was living in, so, and that was a year and a half ago, so that building might be salvageable. And then there's also the shop where he was selling his fine crafts, his handcrafted birds, which we think also might be salvageable, which if it is, we plan on, doing that. So, but then the other buildings, obviously the main house, and then, there's a bunch of little sheds here and there and chicken coops, and there's a big chicken coop that is probably second on the list, so.
You know, what I think about is, let's suppose it doesn't work out for you, which does happen, and the town has to take possession of the property. I mean, I think there's a big liability on that property. I feel a lot warmer towards this, if the cleanup just took place. So I guess you're saying that's improbable, but, I guess, I mean, I'm not sure what the rest of the board thinks, but
Well, that could happen, Chuck, today. I mean, if no one did anything, if he wasn't here buying it and it sat there for 3 years, I mean, the only way the town becomes liable is if the tax bill doesn't get paid, right?
that could happen.
That could happen today.
Could happen no matter who has it, no matter
Yeah.
what's going on.
So I think that's,
It's not to worry.
If he cleans up one building, he reduced our liability.
yeah,
That's the way I look at it.
I will say that I've been visiting that property fairly frequently in the last couple weeks, and, getting to know it a little bit better, and there's definitely, stuff that needs to be addressed immediately, because there's people that are going in and out of those buildings, and you can tell, stuff's being moved, and it's, it's got, God knows what's under the leaves, in other words, it's, you gotta be very,
and
very
right there on the side of
careful.
the road, it's pretty accessible, so.
Yeah,
You know, a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was fairly good friends with the owner. And he was in the little house you're talking about, you might fix up, sitting on the porch. And somebody came up the steps, went into the house, didn't even look at him, grabbed something, ran out the door.
you're kidding.
The guy's sitting there watching him. It's just unbelievable what goes on down there.
Yeah.
Can I just address one thing as the?
Come up to the podium and state your name, please, so that our huge audience knows who you are.
Gary Dempsey, real estate agent for Chet. I've had the property, and I know the family, and they've had a couple of other offers on that as far as development. The one thing that Chad is really conscious about is kind of paying homage to the history of that land, and it's not gonna be, we talked about it, we were out at the land the other day, and he's like, this is, I really wanna, with respect to the family and respect to the New England and the town, and that's why he says there's no development, so I just think that is something that is a positive for the town, because there are developers out there that would love to take that land and put a ton of houses on it, but I just wanted to state that he is really conscientious about, kind of preserving that, so.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you saying that. As soon as the for sale sign went up, it's like, oh, there are gonna be 30 houses right there, so this has been a nice surprise, frankly.
Awesome, thanks. I'm not gonna state my age, but in Hollis, I used to go to school on the bus, and we had to wait for the cows to cross the street. longer on the fence, and those days are long gone. And the amount of developments in our neighborhoods and down in Hollis it's just, it's a shame to watch all the farm field and everything changing so quickly. So I am a firm believer in that, being a New Englander and, New Hampshire native my whole life, so, yeah. The one thing that I will mention, because I started this by saying, this Halloween event that we do at Trombley Gardens, the Halloween event is a community-based event. We hire a lot of teenagers from the local high school and the local theater program. We work with a ton of families in Milford and Sauhegan, and we've been able to, sustain that now for 5 years, and it's been a really, really rewarding experience for us developing that business, and the creative side of it is something that we both thrive in. And the ice cream business is something that we've wanted to add or start with because it's not so seasonal as to say that the Halloween and Christmas quite like that is. So
That place as is would make a great Halloween. Yeah, slam dunk.
we took a picture through one of the windows. It's not there, but it was this old baby carriage, which has since gone missing. So, but just creepy baby carriage. There was no babies in it, thank God. But yeah,
Is any of that inside at Trombley, or is it all outside?
it's all outside.
All outside.
Yeah.
What is the season for your Halloween business?
So this past year, we were open 18 nights out of the season, which is basically the end of September, weekends through October, through Halloween typically. It's usually a 3-hour window that we're open. And we started this particular event in 2020 in the midst of COVID. We had about 1,500 people. Last year, we celebrated almost 5,000.
Well,
For 18 nights, which is about as big as we get. We will not grow that business. If you gentlemen know, the Halloween business is second only to Christmas, and it's the amount of money that people spend on Halloween is. But more importantly, in this area, in New England, New Hampshire, especially after the pandemic, people are longing for some form of entertainment, and they're also they want to have that interactivity, which is what we offer. So that's why the popularity of our show has grown. We've also seen that we do not want to have the popularity of that show go really much more than that, because it just is not the same product. So
How much parking do you have to create for your Halloween business?
I've been on Google Earth a lot the last few days. That particular property that we're using, which includes the parking lot, what we call the queue line area, so after you buy a ticket, you wait in line, and the actual event itself it's about 2.2 acres.
oh, that's not bad.
We do a really good job of utilizing as much space as we can, in a safe way. It's all outside, so we don't have huge concerns with evacuation or anything like that. So.
What kind of ages do you normally hire?
For Halloween?
Like, yeah, I'm just thinking, what is this potentially gonna bring to the community? It's like
Yeah.
Summer businesses kind of end up, is it kids that are
Yeah,
looking for?
so the ice cream business would be most likely 16 and up. The Halloween business is the same. It's usually 16. If we have people we've worked with improv troops at the high school level, which has been really, really rewarding, helping them fundraise. We spent a season with the Hollis Brookline improv troupe, and was able to afford them to go down to Boston and take an improv class as a class, which was pretty neat. So ages range. The people who act in our event are anywhere from 16 years old to, my dad was out there last year, he's 82. So Frank, if you want to come out and act,
I'm pretty young for that.
I know. all 5 of you guys should be out there.
You got a sickle and a straw hat, you look good.
Maybe pull a front tooth out or something.
So I'm Hillary, Chad's wife. Do I have to say my first and last name? No. Okay, Hillary Zingales. So our haunted trail, it's very interactive. We're not bloody. We're not gory.
Oh,
It's more humorous. He and I met. He was teaching stand-up comedy, and I took his class, and that's how we met. So our haunted trail has a very high comedic element and entertainment. Other things that we've talked about with the land is Christmas trees. So I had 30 acres in Brookline, and we had planted 700, 800 Christmas trees that year, and then it was the worst drought and I don't know if you remember, it was like 3 years ago. It
Yeah.
was like 100 degrees, no rain, and they all died. But we would really like to try trees again, and that would all be part of our Christmas event that we do. It's a lit trail. Something else that Chad didn't mention is we partner with the Greater Nashua Mental Health, and we donate money to them every year. And so they always have a booth set up at our haunt, and we're always welcoming other charities because we really like to. We're very community-based and like to give back whenever we can. And I'm from Texas, so community, I grew up in the country. It's very, very important to me. The prospect of having this land just like really excites me, and just taking care of it and farming and then doing our thing too, making it all cohesive and work is really exciting.
Sounds good.
I don't.
You guys might be wondering why she's with me. She's legally blind.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I understand now. Thank you for clarifying that.
Maybe she knows how to barbecue, though. She's from Texas.
She's very, very good cook, yeah.
He makes good chicken wings though, so we thought about adding that
Yeah.
as, we call it Chad's Chicken.
Step one is just making the property safe. That's all we want to do.
Chicken wings and ice cream don't really go together in my life for some reason. I don't-
Surprised.
I'd try it, but I don't know if anybody else would. I don't really have any issues. I think it's good luck. I mean, obviously you're in a great place for an ice cream place, that's for sure.
And
Everybody drives by it.
it's the busiest spot in town. I mean,
Yep.
that section of road, so.
You have any questions for us? I don't think anybody else have any questions for him?
I don't think so. Yeah, thanks for your time.
I mean, you need a site plan. We have site plan regulations. I'm sure you can get them here, if you don't already have them.
Okay,
Or they might be available online. Yeah. So, yeah,
great. Well, thanks for your time.
thank you.
Yeah,
Good luck.
thank you.
The next one's not coming, Mr. Kelly.
I heard. Thank you. So now we're into Keith Nordstrom's approach and protocol for construction monitoring and inspection service. I read it. I don't have any issues with it. I think Steve's a good guy.
Yep.
He's been doing it for a long time. To give you a little history, I started working for Bedford Design in, oh geez, when was it? 31 years ago. And Steve Keach reviewed the plans that we were doing then as well. And I remember right away it was, without saying the words out loud. But when I finally, you call him up and he'll sit down and talk to you and tell you what's wrong and give you an idea how he thinks you can fix it, and he's very approachable with problems. And he is, I don't know if I've ever seen him do a review and then do a second review and say, oh, you forgot about this, and add something else to it. So he does a pretty thorough job. And I think the same thing with, he's been keeping Naomi and I very abreast of what's going on at Cortland.
I
So,
guess just for the 30-second background for anybody watching that didn't see the select meeting, we had a RFP for an engineering firm. We got 3 bids back. We are inclined, we made the decision to go forward with K&A, but part of their bid was, hey, this is how we like to operate with towns, but we wanted to make sure that the planning board was good with that before we commit to something that then you guys are like, well, that's not how we operate today. So that was just, sent over just that little snippet. Everybody seems good with it, so that should just put the bow on that.
Done.
Yep.
Sounds good to me. CIP. Mr. Fillmore.
Do we need to have a formal motion to approve, recommend this to?
Do you want a
the
formal
board?
motion, Sam?
If you converted, that's fine, but what we said was
Yeah.
if the board chose not to, we would consider that approving it, so it's effectively the same.
Correct, well, let's put it on the record that,
Okay.
make a motion that we approve approach and protocol from KNA,
I'll second,
recommending that to the
I was gonna say Bruce.
plant, to the,
I'll second it.
Discussion, all in favor?
aye.
Opposed, abstained?
I'll abstain. I don't know, I recommend it myself, it's a little weird. After tomorrow, I might change my mind, I don't know.
Did you vote for it, the selectmen? Sir?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll get to the CIP. Parks, Public Works, Fire, and Police, right?
That in there, Chuck?
I got that here somewhere.
We've got this, spreadsheet. It's all put together on a spreadsheet here that Naomi put together. So Parks and Rec didn't have any monetary or anything else to put forward. They were just letting us know that they're really looking for someplace for fields. Public Works, road reconstruction, 650, which we get 283, almost $284,000 back from block grant funds. A new 10-wheeler dump truck, which, with the fleet being 12, we really need to do one a year, because they don't, we're still playing catch-up. We've got some that are over 12 years old, because there was a few years that none got approved, so we're good. I mean, even if everything was perfect, and one a year is just keeping up with a 12-year turnaround cycle on them, which is about as long as they last. They want to buy a new roadside mower. The one that we have was purchased extremely used when we bought it. And the scale at the transfer station. But half of that's gonna come from the special revenue fund.
What's the scale for?
To weigh everything that goes in to the transfer station, so they get charged by the pound.
Demo. Come on,
Demo.
let's say
Construction, yeah, the other side, okay.
Everything they have to pay to get rid of gets weighed in, so we have to,
Instead of saying, no, it's $5, throw it in.
right.
Yeah.
It levels the playing field, because right now, some people are, things aren't done evenly across the board. And it's hard to do things evenly across the board when different vehicles show up and, it's,
Yeah, it is, I agree.
I can
The
understand.
scale you drive over?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, it become objective instead of subjective.
Right.
right. And the fire department's looking for a new engine. One comment about that, last year it was $1 million. Went up 250 because of new engine requirements and EPA standards and all that.
Well, they don't own anymore, so. Go back down.
Can we get a one-year-old one? Get back to the million?
The one caveat with that, and I hate to even say it, is they want to use their special revenue fund offsetting to buy it, their ambulance revenue fund. They're anticipating the money's going to be there, and I believe it will be, but it's not currently. But it takes 2 years when they order this engine to get it.
Well, so I think Chief made it plain that they wanted to lease to own instead of pay to own.
Yeah, that's kind of, there was, I think, an option he had, but it's really not up to us or him, it's really up to the selectmen to decide how they're gonna buy it. If, So I mean, last year it went up, we're in pretty much the same exact situation we were in last year. Last year was $1 million, they didn't have quite enough money in there. And it didn't happen, so this year it's in the, pretty much the same, it's advanced 250 because of the price, and nothing really changed from last year, other than it went up $250,000.
The price went up, but our fund went up.
Right.
So,
And, you know, thinking it, well, maybe it won't go up quite so much next year, well, maybe it won't, maybe it will. No one anticipated it was gonna go up $250,000 in 1 year this year.
Which is part of the problem.
No, I
I
understand the
think
problem.
that should have been anticipated.
Yeah, no, I understand, I get, I mean, I know, we're in exactly the same place we were last year with this.
Yeah.
But that special revenue fund, even if we push it off a year, that special revenue fund needs to stay there so that the money can be there for this thing when, if you decide not to, if it doesn't happen this year.
Well, there's an ambulance, what, two,
Yeah, but
coming
that's,
soon.
right,
Yeah.
that's 2 years out as well, but it's also 2 years out after it's ordered. So if we're looking at 2 years more revenue to pay for the fire truck when it comes in, we should have the money almost to pay the whole thing, and then still have the money
2 years later,
potentially 2 years later for the ambulance,
Potentially.
potentially.
and I guess they're,
Get sick a lot.
the other thing they didn't take into account, which is kind of hard to take into account, I can, but he did mention it, was they're going to review their fee structure, and they're going to adjust their fee structure,
Right,
which will help boost that fund faster.
correct.
And really, the fee structure, they can keep up with what the insurance companies will pay is what it boils down to. And there's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, it's not like it's costing the taxpayers out of their pocket, it's the insurance companies that are paying for it. Then for the taxpayers that can't afford it, it's pretty easy to get forgiven.
Relief.
Right. You just gotta ask.
Yep.
But I mean, years ago, the insurance companies were paying the payments to the patient and not the town, and then the town wasn't getting the money, so I mean, the fund really started growing when we put the kibosh to that and hired a third party to do the billing and do the collections. When the fire department was trying to do it themselves, they were collecting peanuts. So, I mean, that third-party billing and everything has been working out great. We've got collecting more money in that fund than we ever did with that setup. And then they want the Lucas CPR device, what's that, one in each ambulance, is that what that is? That's at,
I believe so, yeah.
right. I guess the ones we have run life support themselves. The police department's looking for a new cruiser.
Is that what the asset life cycle program vehicles is?
Yes.
Okay.
And a water filtration system for the safety complex. And a 5-bay carport with evidence storage. That's essentially like a metal carport. They had a picture of it in here somewhere.
A metal carport.
Three-sided,
Three-sided,
and with security.
with one little bay being able to lock up for security, so they could keep bicycles and evidence and stuff like that in.
Give the example of if a vehicle is seized, right now they have to store it in the Sally Port, but then they can't bring people who are under arrest through there, so it'd be nice to be able to have a storage area to take over for that, as well as parking the police vehicles under there, keep them out of the sun and whatnot.
Yeah, it's not gonna be heated, it's just gonna be
Right.
out of the weather. So what we normally do is we go through each item and we vote, you know, yay, nay. If you guys wanna do that, we can do that.
Sure.
I move we vote the slate.
Uh-oh. We have a motion on the table.
I don't think that's a bad idea, only because eventually the voters are gonna determine what really happens.
That's right.
I don't think we.
I mean, this is really a recommendation to the selectmen at this point, and then they get their whack at it, and then the voters get their whack at it.
Well, actually, do we still have a finance committee?
Yes.
Yeah, they get a whack at it too in there someplace.
Yeah, they get a whack, they get a whack at it in the sense that they get the say on the warrant whether they like it or not,
Yeah,
right?
I think what I'll say, from what we've heard so far, I am not in favor of the fire truck, but I do have some outstanding questions from the last time when they presented to us. So I do think it's worth hearing more about that. And so that's, where I stand is I'm good with all of it, but I accept that fire engine, I have more questions, I will have the opportunity to hear more, so I will second that motion.
Well, I know last year, I just remember the fire department, the engine being on there last year. I just remember it being there, being talked about. The price going up $250,000 is a lot of money, that's for sure. 25% is a pretty good inflation rate.
But then we have a piece of equipment we'll have for 30 years,
No, I'm not saying we don't need it. I'm just,
as opposed to trying to fix a 30-year-old piece of equipment
With a pump that can't be fixed.
with a pump,
Right.
and you can't retrofit. Well, you probably could, but it's,
So it'll be
Too many-
80,000?
Yeah, something like that, he said
Yeah.
around 80,000, yeah.
Right. if it was a 5-year-old truck, that would be a different story. But with a 30-year-old truck,
does that have any value?
Well, it only has
Parade.
20-some thousand miles on it.
parade value.
Parade value?
Yeah, another town won't buy it because it can't be certified, right,
Right.
unless they put,
In the current state, yeah.
right.
I suppose it runs a lot of hours, even though it's 20,000 miles, you said?
Yep.
Probably
We could
about
probably, Chad could put it on his Christmas tree.
any other discussions and comments? So we have a motion to approve the whole thing, right? Recommend
Yes.
the whole thing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? It's recommended. Next item on the list is a master plan update. Subcommittee.
We are in the last review stages of the questionnaire. We had 2 pages that are introduction to the purpose and direction of why we're doing this, and then one other under housing and zoning that is being updated, and we hope at next Wednesday's meeting, we will finalize a full review and then be able to present that to the board at our work session in December.
You know, did have a question. I was reading the minutes, and something that caught my eye was the discussion about having questions to you. I don't know exactly what the wording was. Would you be in favor of larger lot size, in favor of smaller lot size? Well, if they said no on both, I guess they're satisfied with the existing lot size. But I'm wondering if you shouldn't really have that, if you're gonna have those other 2 questions there, one of the options might wanna be, are you satisfied with existing?
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know where that's going, this is, because it was all pretty preliminary, I think, in the minutes.
Right. Well, the last set of minutes, so the last 2 meetings' minutes have yet to be published. So that's kind of fleshed out a little broader. I don't know off the top of my head what that looks like, but I'll try to remember to take that into consideration for Wednesday's meeting.
We have tried to be extremely cognizant of not leading one way or the other. And I do think we talked about it at the last meeting. It depends on the set of questions you're talking about, because it may have been housing, zoning, or it may have been like on all particular sections, but there were some that were kind of similar. And we took a pretty hard whack at the zoning questions this last time to try and even a lot of that out. So you're right, I don't think there's a strict leave it alone option, but there should now be better options for, it's not strictly like yes or no, it's sort of, you could pick threes down the line. So I am totally satisfied, out of 1 to 5, just pick threes, 'cause that's the middle of the road, leave it alone.
Right. So the dynamics of that, we've added an opinion on zoning in general as to whether you strongly oppose, or you're neutral, support, strongly support, or don't know. And those same 5, 6 bullets apply to every other question. Should the town permit the following scenarios: detached accessory units, short-term rentals, affordable housing, commercial development, protect open space? That's the issue in housing and zoning. I think there's another area that, no, I think that, so the question you're asking has already been clarified and identified as a concern by answering it in this fashion. But, as I said earlier, this would be something that this board would now review and say, good, no, go back and do some more homework, or whatever. And it's not like it's set in stone. This is what we reviewed, and this is what we've discussed and discovered, and this is what we suggest. But it's still a work in progress. In other words, just because we did all that work doesn't mean you can't have input.
We can vote to throw it all away if we wanted to. I certainly hope that's not the case.
No, it's not much different than the previous one, except that we've expanded or did away with a couple of areas that we thought were redundant. The general consensus area of the 2004 questionnaire focused upon general broad opinion, which is addressed in every other area. So it was like doing double duty. And then how do you interpret that? Because you may answer one way in the general understanding of things, but then when it gets to the narrow, you may have a different opinion because you've been working through the questionnaire. So that's part of the puzzle later on, however it gets approved as far as interpretation is concerned. How do we interpret that? And I would hope that the subcommittee would have a role in that interpretation part, because we have in our minds as to what we're considering or asking the community to think about. And so if we have a better understanding, we would have a better understanding of what we're trying to ask than just someone off the street or even the broader board or the planning board. Unless we did an education piece and said, this is what we meant by this, this is what we meant by that, to discern what's being given us for feedback of the direction and hope of. And then to top that off, we would then take that information and we still have to put it through the grid of what the actionables were from 2004 and ask the hard questions of what things were accomplished and what things were not accomplished from 2004, and whether those actionables are still valid today. So.
Well, one of the things that you really can't do, that I guess people will think about it, but are the ramifications of the answer. In other words, you folks have said, we want to lead anybody, which is important.
Right.
So you're not going to.
Correct.
So hopefully,
And in the design, this round is going to be SurveyMonkey driven, in other words, digital driven as opposed to just piece of paper, plus the way that we've modeled each question to have similar type of parameters. 6 points as to how to discern thing, whereas the previous document had like 6 points for one question and then 3 for another. And so it wasn't like a consistency to really discern, because if you just say, well, I got 3 answers to choose from, and everybody chose the middle answer, what does that mean? You know, whereas it could mean that they're halfway in favor of it going this way and halfway in favor of it going that way. And not being able to discern that, it doesn't help us. So that's why we kind of made it more standardized to say there's at least those 6 components, and especially putting in the don't know or don't have an opinion type of thing. Because oftentimes that's the case for a community involvement person who may not be involved in anything or not aware of what that particular thing means. But we are, in our introduction, we make it plain that we want anyone 18 and over to participate. So it may not just be a single, the head of household who has the opportunity to answer. It's the whole, anyone 18 and above can contribute and participate.
What exactly would a digital form look like? What,
So you'd have a link to go on to SurveyMonkey, and that link would take you to the questionnaire, and you'd start just working through the questions.
you know, that's gonna eliminate some amount of people.
Correct. But it also means that we still have to follow it up with some type of paper form and then we'd have to, I don't know how to scan and digitize that to make that happen. And we know that there's going to be a certain population that isn't computer savvy or doesn't have access. We could encourage folks to take advantage of the library. I've got several in our church that don't have computers at home, but if they want to look up anything on the computer, they go to the library and have access that way. So that's another tool available to us. I did some preliminary research of what would be needed if we were going to mail this out to everybody as a separate mailer. It would be, you know, quite a bit of money.
About $1,000?
No, more than that,
More than
almost $5,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
It's not cheap to, even within the mailing procedures that the town uses, it's still gonna be costly as far as what the post office charges. So,
It's not a postcard thing, it's,
right.
As I said, nickel stamps or what?
I mean, we've talked about putting in someone's, tax bill to say, here's an opportunity. But it's many areas, many ways that we can get the information out, whether it's on the town website, a Facebook page, an email to those who are getting the information already pertaining to whatever thing they're interested in. You know, if they're on that email to know there's a selectmen's meeting or there's a planning board meeting, those type of things. And then getting it out into maybe a small advertisement as far as what we do at the local paper.
Well, did the tax bill suggestion, is that something you really think would work, or?
I think it would be a means, it won't be the means, you know, because as it is with, well, I don't get a tax bill, so I don't know what that looks like. But if I get a,
They
if I've
aren't
got a
pretty.
tax,
Looks real
They're
bad.
not pretty, by the way.
they are pretty, if I got a tax bill, I'd be more concerned about the tax bill than this subsequent piece of
Yeah, that's
paper.
That's for sure.
You know, so, it's still a means by which we get the information out. And the
very
goal,
negative.
well, it could be, it could be. No, I won't make any suggestions. But it becomes a, you know, as far as how we're gonna implement this, it's important that we, most likely, we probably need to do a public hearing or some type of public event to say, this is what this is about, this is why we're doing it. And it's not because we're trying to accomplish something in and of ourselves as a planning board or as a subcommittee to, that we want to see this type of growth. And that's not what our intent is. Our intent is, we have a mandate by the state pertaining to our master plan, and it's 20 years in arrears, or at least 10 years in arrears. It should be updated every 10 years. And every time that we really never got off the dime, if you want to call it that, got started, like we've done thus far, because things have changed drastically since the first plan, master plan that was put together, because what's available to us as far as demographics, economic identities, et cetera, on the internet is already readily available to us. We don't need a whole bunch of money to accomplish something. We just need to take the time to put those numbers together in a fashion that gives understanding as to who we are as a community. Because just in the demographic growth expectation or forecasting from 2004 to 2014, we never met those forecasts. We're actually less in our population than those forecasts projected. And so the more honest evaluation of what's our growth been like, is more important to us to be discerning. And especially when the overwhelming thought from back then was to maintain our historic identity as a small New England town, and not to overdevelop, not to industrialize ourselves. But there said, some of that development is helpful for income to make sure our services are up to date. Some of that industry can bring in jobs that are important to not only, like this potential ice cream shop and what they're anticipating for Halloween. That's something our students are going to participate in.
And Chuck.
And Chuck, yeah.
Right.
He's going to be the lead character.
Right.
But those things are important when we can now provide opportunity for our students and our young people to gainfully employed in town rather than driving out of town, whichever way they might go. Because it just opens up things that are not healthy. I don't want to bury any more kids who OD, to be honest with you. And by them leaving town to find employment, that raises escalates the opportunity for drugs and alcohol, et cetera, to be a part of their life.
Yeah, but on the flip side, many people like that. They like the town as it is, kind of.
Correct.
I'm glad to travel and come back at night or in the morning or whatever.
Right.
So it isn't all, what you're saying is true, but there's also, everyone
Correct.
isn't concerned about it.
Right. But the other part of that is that when a property like the Ilsley property of 45 acres or something like that becomes available, what's to prevent 20 home development to go in there? Or if some of these farms that are barely existing, and they're mainly driven for hay fields right now, what if that family decides that they're going to decide they want to sell that property off in order to have a newer home or have another opportunity someplace else? So those types of things are a realization that can happen, and we have no control over those things, so that we can maintain that. And I only look at that comparison because our town has a similar flavor to this town I grew up in. And when I moved away, there were several farms that are non-existent now. They're all small developments. And when I asked people who I know who live there, where is that place? Oh, do you remember the Aricalian farm? I said, yeah, it's gone. The house is still there, but all the fields have been consumed with housing. And granted, we haven't been pushed to that yet, but unless we don't plan effectively, we will be pushed to that, and we'll have to make hard decisions, because we'll become a bigger bedroom community for both Manchester and Concord, if not Greater Boston.
I would also, since we're talking this much in depth about it, call out a couple of other spots where, we tried to avoid leading by saying, do you want to do X, and then the opposite of X. There are also a couple in the initial survey, like picking on one because it comes early. Which intersection do you think is the most dangerous in town? that implies that there is danger there, and so you have to pick one, and so then all of a sudden there's data that says, well, everybody thinks this is dangerous, like, but there's no scale to say, okay, you've asked the most dangerous, but is it actually? Is it something that you think needs to be fixed? You may say, yeah, it's dangerous, but I don't care. So try to allow for all those options. Like,
Right.
you know, I like it the way it is. I don't, like,
Right.
it's fine.
Yeah, and that was one of the other discussions as far as that's concerned, from the 2004 report. All those dangerous areas were all state highways. And that is, yeah, they run through our town, we have some say, but it's not like we can really make it actionable to say, we need demand. We're not gonna use this highway anymore because it's unsafe, and that's not gonna happen. But the means by which then we would have to take more of a campaign type of approach to petition the state and petition the state and petition the state. And there are common citizens who are doing that all the time. I've got one friend who is my advocate for the bridge next to my house. And anytime the expansion joints get noisy, he's on the phone calling his buddy at Transportation to make sure they know it needs to be fixed. And he's probably looking at the show right now, and he knows who I'm talking about. But there are those in our community who do that, and that's a good thing. You know, they're not sitting around just complaining. They make observations, and they try to make things better by alerting those who can make a difference about it.
Yeah, but wouldn't police records kind of back up dangerous? It may seem dangerous, because it's irritating,
Yeah,
not necessarily dangerous.
correct. They should. Those, you know, in the corner by my son's house on 149 is classic. Between now and April, there'll be 5 to 10 cars in the woods.
Oh, yeah?
The turn in front of my house, we'll have three in there this winter,
Yeah.
for sure. Anything else?
No, that's all I got.
Now we're on the capital improvements program, rules and regulations, which I looked at.
This
the old
was my
ones.
final version.
Has everybody seen it?
Yeah, I think everybody saw it.
Everybody else saw it, except me?
I think so. Yeah.
I'll just
I
step
brought it,
back.
I brought it and passed it around to everybody,
Okay.
You saw that,
4 meetings
right?
ago.
Yeah, I think I still got that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You see the final one? Yeah. Yeah, with all the markups and editing marks out. Yeah.
Just need a signature.
When did the new books come out?
Please see order, it'll be after the first of the year. It'll be a different color.
Pink? No.
Did you leave the CIP subcommittee chair in there for signature?
It is still there.
You don't have CIP, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, and I guess that was like the whole main thing. Because it's no longer a subcommittee, it's not really a committee either, it's just the planning board.
Correct.
So,
But that could change next year.
Right, but we still need to update the rules
I
and
understand,
rights
yes.
to be present, and it could be amended later, right?
yeah, that's kind of my opinion, if it's being updated to no longer say subcommittee, I would propose just saying, it's, you know, it's the actions you're describing, but, for instance, submission form worksheet for the project to be considered by rather than CIP committee, but planning board. Or planning board acting in its capacity as CIP, but I think it's not necessary. So that's kind of what I wanted to, and yeah, like overview of the CIP process. It says the planning board and the CIP committee together. Well, it's not two separate entities working together, it's a single entity.
Right.
I guess I would recommend a pass of just making it clear that it is one thing, it's just the planning board.
Right.
And then part of that is removing the CIP committee signature line. Sorry.
Yeah, you gave us that on the 10th, right?
Yeah, this one, the latest one is dated 10/10.
We gave it our bylaws too.
So just have the two signature lines and just wipe out that first one, right?
Yeah, and then the spots that say CIP committee, I would change them all to planning board. And then if it is changed again next year, just, you know,
Change it again.
fine. Okay. But then there are
Yeah,
a couple of
page-
spots.
Page
There-
4 especially. Bruce,
Yes, I saw about
overview of the
5.
CIP process.
Immediately it starts with the two.
We have to do a search CIP subcommittee.
Yeah.
Won't take you more than 2 minutes to do
Right.
that.
I mean, although, another option is to say that, to put a paragraph in there that if the planning board foresees the need for a subcommittee for CIP, that they have the authority to designate that.
Beginning.
That way, the rules and regs would still apply to both without having to redo them again.
I'd have to double check the RSA, but do you think it'd be fair to say in this kind of proposed paragraph, like on an annual basis, make that decision?
Yeah.
That would clean it up a whole lot.
Yeah, RSA 67422 requires municipalities which regulate development through a growth management ordinance to prepare and adopt a master plan and a CIP. CIP can stand alone on its own merits as a planning tool.
Is this document revision B? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the date, yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
So that was just done.
right,
Well, that wasn't approved, right?
correct.
So now we're modifying it.
And this is the modified copy.
We have revision C.
Well, there is no modified copy. You're kind of marking it up, right?
That's what I'm doing right now, yeah.
In September, Bruce presented this with that piece of paper that you have with this notation part on the
Yep,
right
in the
side.
margins, yep.
So this is the subsequent document from that. So now we're just reviewing to approve or amend or,
I can make these changes, have it ready for next meeting. That's not,
Okay.
it won't take long.
Yeah, it'd be good to go over it, because I'd like to mark it up. So we're actually gonna reprint this eventually, right? With the,
yes.
Yeah,
Everything you mark up with
Yep,
And revision B would be,
yeah, I'll bring a clean version.
Revision C.
no, revision, this is revision B that we're talking about. We're not
Right.
making a revision C.
You're not.
I'm just gonna
No,
redate
because
it. I'm gonna,
it'll
it'll be a new
redate it.
date here, instead of 10/10, it'll be
12, whatever.
another date.
Can you send that out when you
Yep.
hit it next meeting?
2025 zoning amendments, if we're all done with that. I assume we were. I did reach out to Tom Cars a while ago about the wetland thing, and be blunt, I dropped the ball the last 2 months, but I think, well, I know what I know what he's thinking. I'll get back in touch with him pretty soon, and it shouldn't take much. We're gonna steal one from another town that he does a lot of work in, instead of a bunch of towns like I was trying to do.
Right.
Are you working on an ADU thing? Or
I haven't,
don't
but I can,
I understand?
but I have been working on solar ordinance instead. It's,
Is that, you provided this, or did Danny Jean?
no, that's one Danny Jean did.
Okay.
I've got a whole new one.
Okay.
Whatever happened to that one up on 77? People came in,
They went for variance and were denied.
oh, no kidding. I think they dug a well, built a building there. Didn't dig a well, I got a drill.
Did real well, yeah. I think they did that before the solar thing even came to,
No, they drilled that after they were here,
did they?
I think so.
very shortly afterwards, but it was after they were here.
Yeah, they haven't done anything as far as farming is concerned. They,
Haven't done anything.
no.
No.
So wetlands, ADU, and solar?
Mhm.
Did we have any other? I don't remember. I think there's one other.
There was another one, I don't remember what it was though. By the way, with the wetland ordinance, I'm going to try to put in a conditional use permit for that as well, rather than going for a special exception or variance.
So you creating a new solar ordinance? Or are they 38? 38 is just up here.
Okay.
Where is it? It's 37, you would, 35 being small winds, 36 is driveways, 37 is private roads.
Article
38 would be solar.
38. Okay.
Minutes I have not looked at. Do we have any minutes?
Sorry, I was holding off on a remark. I thought Pastor Bill was still looking for one from
Good.
last year. Is that true? Is it?
I gave up on
Yeah, I
it.
thought I had written a list of, meeting, it's June.
I mean, the camper one we did last year.
Right.
then, just so everybody knows, the way, my thought on the ADU thing is, it's not gonna create, the potential for another ADU. It's gonna allow for a detached ADU. instead of
Correct,
Attached.
We already have the attached.
correct.
Right, but I'm not, it's not gonna increase the number of ADUs allowed on a site. It's just gonna allow just gonna allow it to be detached instead of attached.
Can't have both.
Can't have both. Right.
Right, so the present examples of a detached would be an apartment above a garage that's detached from the house.
Right.
Which we have in town, but that was prior to regulation pertaining to that.
You could just build a separate building too.
Right. And the square footage is gonna increase a little bit, because it's a little bit,
We'll be going to 1,000.
that's what I'm thinking about, yeah. Once you have to put all the utilities in there, like the furnaces and stuff in there, where, if it's attached, you can have the utilities somewhere else, it doesn't have to be in the ADU, but if it's detached, you kinda have to, now you need room for that. So,
So, what I was gonna, I guess, remark was, you know, we put all this effort into the subcommittee to put out a survey, trying to develop a master plan, and some of this, maybe particularly the ADU one seems like putting the cart in front of the horse, so we don't know yet what our updated plan is going to be. We don't know if this is something that people want us to be working on. So,
Oh, I'll remember.
You're talking about the ADUs?
right, and really more of a broader topic, but using it as an example of, for things like this, and I guess it's only one iteration of it, but wouldn't it make more sense for the planning board to have the feedback and an updated plan before continuing to change things? At least continuing to change things dramatically. You know, I don't know what the solar one would consist of, but if it's minor, and I know the wetlands one has been talked about at length, and like, same thing, as long as it got, I know last year, if I understand correctly, it hit conservation a bit late, and if that were given ample time, have a good conversation, like, okay, because I don't know that either of those would get caught by the kind of things that we know that need to go into the master plan based on the RSA and the type of questions we're going to be asking. And that's why I was waiting to see what the last one was, to
Right.
see if it was another one.
Short-term rental, short-term rentals
Yeah, same kind of thing.
was the other one that which is in the questionnaire. So I can see
I
us,
wouldn't touch on short-term rental.
so I would see us holding off on the short-term rentals and ADU or DDUs, so that we could get a feel from that vision. And because I don't think we have enough time to flesh out even a DDU at this point, if we can focus on the solar and the wetlands setbacks.
Well, I have a
Would
question
be-
on that. Let's talk about the DDUs. So we're saying, and I understand what you're saying, let's wait till the master plan.
Yeah, put it off till next year instead of trying to push it for this year.
Well, the master plan empowers the planning board to act, I think, without going to the voters, is that right or wrong? In other words, right now, what Bruce is talking about will be some kind of an article on the warrant, right?
Right.
So,
But I
right,
don't know if it'll be an article on the warrant if in fact
no,
the DDUs said, well, yeah, well, this is something we're buying
no,
into.
it would still be your warrant.
Still have to be a zoning
Still be a
ordinance.
warrant.
Yeah,
Still be a
we'd have to,
warrant.
so basically, the master plan gives us guidance as to how to make our zoning current, based upon what the community considers. But those guidelines are still guided by the RSAs that oversee the development of those things. So that we're not,
Master plan's a tool for us to
right,
use
it's a
to,
tool, it's a mechanism to keep us accountable.
to create ordinances, whether they're zoning or subdivision or site plan or whatever, to create ordinances and regulations that
Do you have ADU
This is
questions in
what-
your questionnaire?
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah, ADU and, DDUs, because we already have ADUs.
So what's a DDU?
Detached.
Oh, okay, well,
Yeah, they should both fall under A as accessory dwelling unit, though.
it's still accessory dwelling, it's just detached.
Right, right.
instead of attached.
Did I? Too many pieces of paper. Can't remember, it's question 28, right? So, yes, we have concerning detached accessory units, like in our apartments, guest houses. And then we have short-term rentals, as in Airbnb, vacation rentals, affordable housing, commercial development, and open space and protecting open space and natural resources. And those all fall under the 6-point category of strongly oppose against the zoning for that, opposed, open to some restrictions, neutral, no strong opinion, support zoning, strongly support, zoning with strict restrictions and do not know.
How would a person know what affordable housing is?
Well,
I think when we do the survey, Mike, I think some of those things, you're gonna have to have like an explanation, like affordable housing is,
I think that's a really good, because like we said, we're gonna bring that back to this board. I think we've been staring at it so long, that's probably some of the best feedback the rest of the board could give.
right,
Like, we went myopic on it, and this is, you know, it doesn't, like you're saying, this doesn't make sense, this needs to be defined. And we can
right.
add a little definition box or something,
right. I
as long
think
as
you
that
can,
isn't leading.
I think you do that in this, I think you do that survey, Mucky, right? You can have
Yeah.
like a definition, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did say, yes, we did say concerning detached accessory units, because we already knew that attached were permitted.
When did
And
do
we
that,
were-
2 years ago?
Attached?
Yeah, attached.
That's been a long time, that's been since zoning was
Oh, it's been that long?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
by special exception.
But we had, when we started talking about detached, we kind of put it on the back burner because there was a, what do you call it, RSA coming before the State House that would give
Yeah.
carte blanche permission for anybody in the whole state to do it,
Yeah.
but that failed,
Yeah, passed the House, did make it through the Senate.
right?
And I wouldn't be surprised
So they would, it would give,
if we saw it again this year.
yeah, what did they call it? Something right, I can't remember what the first word was. That a particular property, if it could fit on that property, had the right to build a detached accessory dwelling unit. So you could have, put all your, and it's mainly motivated by our current housing market that our seniors can't afford to live in.
I'm not sure the young people can either.
No, they can't. My youngest can't even afford to,
I deal with that every day with those things.
Yeah.
In what I do. And 99% of the time, it's the parents' way to sell the property to the kids and give the parents someplace to go so the kids can occupy the house.
right.
And and everybody gets scared, well, you can do it, you can't do it everywhere, because I have to tell a lot of people, your lot's not big enough, you can't do it on this lot.
Right.
You know, you might be able to physically fit it, but there are other rules to adhere to that
Right.
aren't exempt that you can't do.
Correct.
It doesn't meet them.
DES lot loading, for
Right.
instance. Yeah.
Well, detached must be a rather expensive option.
Well, you can buy one of those houses on Amazon.
You know, you need a well, a septic, and
No, you can attach it to the same facilities.
You know,
Same, yeah, same well, same septic, you can, you don't have to.
But there's some people that want, you know, the kids are buying a house, the parent, they don't want to live in the same house the kids are. They want to live
Far enough away you can't hear.
75 feet away.
Far enough away you can't hear them with the windows closed.
Right.
So we're gonna focus on wetlands and solar for this year.
Sounds like it.
And then the others will fall into place based on the questionnaire or put on the burner for next year. And who knows, we may not have to address dwelling units because the state will mandate that. Or, I mean, we even talked, you know, and I guess that's important. Even though that's potentially there, it still should not negate our process.
No.
Because we threw out the whole affordable housing thing in anticipation, or no, short-term rentals in anticipation of the state's gonna mandate something. But it doesn't look like it's doing that at this point because every town has been working through either a court case or through getting ahead of the court case to provide the means by which that can happen in a healthy way.
So what would the timeline be for the wetlands and the solar?
Oh, solar for next meeting, I mean,
You're gonna need to have some stuff put together for the next meeting, because you've already agreed to not meet the day after Christmas.
Right.
yeah, Thanksgiving.
And we won't be meeting Thanksgiving.
And then you won't be meeting Thanksgiving. So you have to have something, because your first hearing is gotta be that January 9th,
Yeah, I've got,
in the attempt to have a final hearing on your January 20-something, because that
Ja-
falls within the calendar. I don't
January
know if I
9th,
explained that.
January 9th is the day we can actually change it. And-
Say that again?
No, we can change it anytime.
No,
Nothing,
you have to
never
have
mind.
a public hearing within.
Well,
a
yes,
window.
right, we got a public hearing, but we can change our amendments. If we were talking about, if we had an amendment right in front of us right now, we could change it, is what I'm trying
I
to say.
could, I could email a copy of that solar thing to Naomi like Monday.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
So
Think she can spread it around.
So, Monday the 15th is the last day to hold the first public hearing for planning board amendment.
Is that January or?
That's January 15th, but if you look at your calendar, I believe you guys have the 9th, which you could hold your public hearing on the 9th, and then, where was it? And then your 29th is the last day to hold a final public hearing. So that's why your two meetings work, but they have to be public hearings.
Right,
So
9 and
the 9th
23.
and the 23rd in January were,
So-
Right.
Right.
So if you finish, we can post a public hearing for the 9th if you finish on the 12th. Even if it's a draft, you can still have a second one to finish your draft if you make amendments. But I explained that back in October, looking ahead at the calendar, that it fits.
Do you mind repeating the statutory dates?
Sure. Do you want to say the, probably, in case somebody wants to
Yeah,
know?
state your name, please.
Sure. So January 9th is the, I just lost it here, is the last day to post and publish for a hearing. But you can have that hearing between the dates, okay? So you have to have a hearing, and then you gotta look at January
So the-
15th.
15th was the,
15th is, I'm sorry, it's the 15th is the first public hearing. That's the last day to hold your first public hearing,
Okay.
January 15th. So if we schedule it for the 9th, we've met that,
We met
okay?
it,
So
yep.
then let's fast forward to a final one. On Monday, January 29th is the last day to hold the last hearing.
Monday, January 29th?
Wednesday.
Okay.
No, this one says, the calendar says Monday the 29th.
It's not.
Wow,
It's
okay.
either-
All right, well, so you don't understand the where I'm
Either
headed.
way,
Right.
we're good at 23rd.
So that's why I said, I think in October, that you're good with the 9 and 23, but what that does is because looking at the calendar, you're not meeting for Thanksgiving, and you're not gonna meet the day after Christmas. So that means next meeting, you're gonna have to, put together a pretty good draft. You can still make
I'll have
amendments at your public hearing, because you're gonna have public
Well,
input.
I'll have it ready to send around first of the week, so we'll get it to you
And then
Monday.
the other thing I just need you to know is that you're gonna have a hearing that night, because the website says that you're meeting on the 28th to have hearings, which is Thanksgiving, so you're not. The website schedule, so I had somebody come in with an application for a subdivision for the 28th. So I explained that that was a mistake, because we're not meeting on Thanksgiving, and I offered him the 12th. But there's only one. It's Jock's coming in with a subdivision off Colby Road. So we'll have that, and then this is really what we need to finish.
This is the 12th of December now.
That's the only meeting is gonna be the 12th of December.
And that's our next meeting.
Right.
That's your next meeting. So if we can get that on, we can have a good comprehensive draft when we leave on the 12th. I could then post the meeting for a public hearing. Copies will be available to the public.
We can do that.
Okay, just so you know.
And to get ahead of it, can we try and have the wetlands one, anything we might need from conservation? Do you happen to know the conservation meeting following December 12th?
11th. We met last,
Perfect.
Just,
they met last night. So their next meeting is the 11th, because we posted the forester contract to be opened that night. That's how I know that.
or maybe we could ask the chair.
Sure.
It wouldn't
We
be
can
the-
include
It wouldn't be the
them.
whole commission, or the whole commission, but
Right.
with some kind of info. Just to avoid the problems of last year.
I can go there the day before. That's not a problem. I did
Craig
last
can
year.
go the night
That's
before.
what I did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this time I got Tom Carr on my side. So that's the
All right,
difference.
so the 11th, if you want to come, that'd be awesome. Okay. See, it all comes together, isn't that nice?
You can put him on the list, right?
What's that?
You'll put him on the list, on the agenda for that night?
I can.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Don't know who he's pointing at over
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I don't know.
Don't see anybody over there. Keep looking, but I don't see anybody. Nobody in that chair. I'll get it out, I'll get it out pretty soon. I'm not gonna say when, but
And maybe-
hopefully this week, early next.
So similarly, is it worth having a representative attending the energy committee meeting with the solar ordinance?
To go where?
Because we have the new Ware Energy Subcommittee.
Oh, yes.
I don't know their schedule either. But same thing of, hey, here's what we're thinking. They're supposed to be the domain experts in town.
What are their meetings, any idea, Naomi?
It's Wednesday, fourth Wednesday.
Sounds like next week.
But I don't think they're gonna meet, so
The
they're
day-
not meeting this month though, because
If
it's
it's
the night before Thanksgiving.
And the other fourth Wednesday's Christmas Day, so they're meeting
I'm
that.
not sure if they picked another day or not. But I can ask, the chair and send them an invite too.
Okay.
If you're willing, I think it's worth, same thing of just
Yep.
to avoid the
I-
perception
I-
of, hey, surprise, this is,
Invite them to our meeting, I think.
Yep. Not that they approve what we pass.
If they're not having any
anyways.
meetings in
right, just
Just a
November and
courtesy-
December,
common-
maybe,
common
if the
courtesy.
chair would be willing to come to a meeting on the 9th, 12th, December
12th.
12th.
Can invite the whole committee if you want to.
Yeah.
We got enough chairs. So now we're down to minutes, I think, right?
Yeah, you don't have any. I don't think you have any.
Good.
I was looking at the 24 calendar. I see 24, I read it exactly what I was looking at. So do you want me to fix that? It's January 13th, 25 is the last day to hold the first hearing.
Okay.
And we're meeting the 9th, so
And then
we're-
the 27th is the last day to hold the final hearing. I was reading 24's calendar, sorry.
We're still good either way.
It was still, that's why I looked at it.
what was the correct first date?
Sorry, the correct first date was.
Oh, they're supposed to be Mondays.
Monday the 13th, 2025 is the last day of planning board proposed amendments. And then Monday, January 27th is the last day for planning board to hold the final public hearing. Still works for our calendar.
Good.
Ask if we have a plan to get the minutes cut up. We don't have a minutes taker right now, but we are obligated to take minutes. Look at that secretary.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Is that?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I don't know if it's achievable. Of all our meetings that are missing online,
There's a lot missing.
I mean, those meetings online,
They're on YouTube.
That's what I mean. that doesn't count?
Skeleton.
And the bare minimum is date, date, place.
Who's there?
Who was there and motions made and votes.
Okay.
And so that's what we're doing with the, like, we have to get them caught up, or somebody could sue, we got no leg to stand on.
Anything else?
Is there anything in the works to get a secretary? At times we've had a
Minute taker?
minute taker.
Well, that's what we were just talking about. We lost our minute taker and we are interviewing 2 on Monday night.
I mean, it's kind of a tough deal to be a member here and be the minute taker too.
Hey, he took the job.
Oh, he volunteered?
Yeah, he did. A year ago, it said, all in favor, all in favor of
3 years
passing over
ago.
secretary. Boom, he was there.
3 years ago.
Sorry,
And a year before
Sorry.
that.
You want to help me?
no.
Okay.
Really help myself.
He just feels bad for you, that's all. He's not gonna help, he just feels bad for you.
But I'm saying that all the meetings are on YouTube still.
We haven't lost one in a while, because I run across the hall and put them on the YouTube if I have to. And tonight it doesn't show on here, but I checked on my phone and you're
Yeah,
still on.
it hasn't been showing up on there.
I don't know why it says no, N-U-L-L.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I did check on my phone, it's.
Yeah, we did that in the last two subcommittees, because we didn't,
Yeah, I don't know why.
doesn't show that it's,
You had 6 people watch, you got 1 still on.
woo-hoo.
Okay.
Make a motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Everybody jumped on that one. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. Good night.